Now, the next story, and I love this because, I have recollections of my own first day going to Acclimad School, or we call it Acclimad School, petrified of this new journey in my life, and that was many more years later than Paddy has told this story, but his school was Romani Moore School, and his two sisters, my husband's mother and aunt, went to the same school. One was older and one was younger. But this was his story. I went to school in 1920 at the age of 5. I had a sister Mary at school a couple of years sooner. She died this Christmas, R.I.P. So she had died in 1990, so when he was writing the story. A big boy was taking me by the hand on the first morning. We were walking up the road until I came as far as a big beech tree and its branches growing across the road. I thought it dangerous to walk underneath it, so I rusted. I had to be coaxed under it, and the vexing part is that it's there yet and will be there when I'm gone and more. Many a night I rode my bicycle under that tree, and it raining, and you wouldn't find a drop. The roll call was answered in school, and he's Tommy Shaw written in brackets. Now I don't know whether that was a teacher. Master Luke Clark and his wife were our teachers. Stern, not cross. We had a very happy time in school. I only missed one day. I had to lie out with my mate apart from a few days with mumps and a few colds. I was always raring to go, and so was my sisters. My sister Rose, that's my mother-in-law, my late mother-in-law, is still living. She died in 2006. So my sister Rose is still living, thank God. She is a couple of years younger, and both my sisters never got a slap. They were good scholars. I got a share of slaps, but not enough. I had no interest in learning, no memory for holding information. I loved the teacher's lecturing, but I couldn't put it down to my advantage. I had a slow brain, and it didn't develop enough to carry on in my slow years of life, but wouldn't get me through life nowadays. That's what he said. Thank God for looking after me so long. I have got everything out of life I wanted, and thank God still going strong. Our lunch to school was oaten bread in winter. I had mine ate on the way to school, too lazy to carry it, too busy playing with the boys. The girls had bags. I had my books in a strap, hid in the school. Most girls had a bottle of milk in their bag. Most boys were careless like myself, hadn't time to look after themselves. Our mistress, a lady, Lord rest her, if anyone was sick or a bad cold, the mistress made them tea and made them sit at the fire. Very charitable woman. She would give you the rod for distracting anyone or talking to one next to you, but she would try to help you at your work. Every family had to bring a load of turf to help the fire in winter. A 2-room school, not too hard to heat. If you hadn't turf, you brought a penny a week, which bought coal. I remember the master showing us boys how to make bricks for the fire, with cinders of sticks and coal and slack dust and wet clay. These bricks would burn all day when kindled, and a smashing heat off them. I have never heard of them being made since. Everything was thought out years ago to save money. Now it's see who can spend it the quickest. Around 80 pupils on the board and the pendulum clock, which we were always looking at to get out at playtime. One thing I always remember was catechism before playtime. We had one Protestant girl at our school in my years. Her name was Maggie Morton from Mullylum. Maggie got to walk around the yard when we were at catechism, and Robert McHugh was always near me, and he would try to make you laugh and say, I wished I was a Protestant, and he would be out with Maggie. Maggie was a tall girl, and when she would pass the window, Robert would elbow you. When Maggie finished school at 14, she came back a couple of winters. She was a good girl and wanted to learn more. Lots of scholars came back in winter around 1924 on to 1930. Then it finished. It was a form of night school that was in schools years before old men talked about it. Lots of people going to night school that had never been to school before. One boy with a moustache came to our day school for 3 months. Our mistress looked after him. He never was at school when he was a boy. This man was going to America. It came because we were told it was to learn to read and write before emigrating. Some boys who wanted to learn went to night school and also day school. A story was told of an old man being at spelling one night, and the boy at day school was asked to spell a mouse, and then the old man asked to spell a big cow. He said, not fair, the boy at school all day only asked to spell a little mouse, and me at night school asked to spell a big cow. I lay out with my pal one day from school. I regret the loss of the crack at school, instead of lying in a ditch like a commando all day and afraid of being seen. I went back the next day expecting to be slapped, but never mentioned. Another day, a hunt passed our school at playtime, and Jimmy Cunningham showed me his hound leading the hunt. We both ran away cheering the hounds and forgot about going back to school. We got away with that one too, and no one ever told. Myself and Jimmy were always sent on messages, and we were never long away. We used to go at playtime for heather in the bog. I pulled the heather, and Jimmy made the bisms for sweeping the school. The bisms were the brooms. Mm-hmm. We also had the job of gathering kippings of bruskna sticks to light the fire. The master never trusted anyone to cut the rod for slapping the scholars. He cut them himself, a full-time job. The big boys at school all had knives, and every time the master left down the rod, the boys nicked it, and it often flew up and hit the master in the mouth. Pat Riley was lying out. His mother brought to school one day, leading him with a straw rope around his leg. The minute the master loosened the rope, Pat was away up a whinny hill. All the scholars sent at playtime to surround the hill, but Pat could find a way through it. It was like fighting a war in the jungle. Another boy was led by the tail of his topcoat until he got the first glimpse of the school. He threw off the topcoat and left it with the man leading him and away for the hills. One time we went to raid an orchard, and we weren't back in time, and my mate said, we will do the slip. We will only be slapped once, and we might not be missed. And neither we were. Lucky buggers. He said there was great crack getting photos taken at school. I have a school group of 1924, myself and sisters in it. The photographer used to take wee strips of heads, and I could never find any of them. That must be a wee sample picture, I don't know. Another good day at school was the day the cookery mistress came. She made drop scones, and she gave one to everyone in the class. They were tasty at that time, and we had the appetite. The boys always raided the girls' bags under the seats. To smell the bags for apples or oaten bread, that's all we wanted. We played football at school, mostly a rag ball or a sponge ball, up the road, down the road, played against each other sometimes. We mixed it. Two of the big boys called out their team, of course. They called a good player from either road. A tug-of-war made of hay rope, using hay rope. Always the rope broke, and whoever got the biggest fall lost. A very exciting day in school was the day all the scholars rushed in at playtime when they got the teachers out for a walk. The game was called Bar Out the Teacher, and he will tell when he is giving the summer holidays. The teacher always told, and he was let in and everything taken in good parts. The scholars on our road found a wounded swan in the morning going to school, and Seamus McBride made a hay rope and led the swan to school. Myself and Seamus and Master Luke Clark left the swan on Garvey Lake at playtime. The master had a car, the only time ever we got a ride in his car at playtime. If we wanted a drink of water after playing football, we drank water out of bog holes full of frog spawn. It done us rightly, no springs in the townland. A house beside the school made the tea of bog water. I often got tea in that same house. This family dug a small hole in the bog, could lift a can full out of it for tea or washing vessels after dinner. The same family used to dig a fresh hole in the bog every month for tea water, closed the hole for so long with a big sod, and could open again next year. Carried slop water out of bog hole for boiling for animals, and this family all lived long and died of old age, and their mother had 11 of a family. A lot of them went to America. The mother, it was told, was wheeling out turf in the bog, went behind a stack, had a baby, and finished the day's work called the Derby Macaloons. So I tell you, he's telling us that the people there were a lot hardier than we are nowadays, by the looks of things. I'm trusting that it's all the truth, but it could be embellished slightly. It could be his memories could be coloured slightly.